Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Doug.
And I'm Pat.
Welcome back to the Doug and Pat Show. Pat, you know this is our 15th show.
Wow.
15 shows. So we almost should
Yeah.
have some kind of a celebration. Maybe some tea or something like that.
Yeah.
This is blueberry tea.
The spot of tea.
We do blueberry tea. This show is going to be called Questions and Answers and Questions. Yeah, isn't that funny?
Got music.
Got music.
Yeah,
We
I
do.
like that, I like that.
Got rigs. Got rigs too. We get questions from all over the world that are really, really good. And we thought we would sort of take this time on the 15th show, approaching our 2-year anniversary, to answer some of them. We'll start with these guys that are in England. You know, we have a lot of people in England that we communicate with. They're really into vintage stuff, even though a lot of them don't have any or actually even seen any, but it's the opportunity for them to tune into that. This is a blog. It's called The Fretboard in England. And one of the questions they ask us is if we would join the blog. And the answer to that is yeah, we're going to. So I asked them, send us some questions. They had some questions about some of the stuff we talk about, misconceptions, conjecture, whatever conjecture means. And
Mighty big word.
it is a pretty good one. And let's start with those guys, and then we'll move on. First one is your preferred Vox amp an English model or one of the U.S. made ones? This amplifier is English made, 1965 Vox AC10 Super Reverb Twin. And it's, you can see it back there, we've had it on the show a number of times. So it's English made, pretty rare amplifier. It has a little reverb unit in it. It's really gained up. It's just an incredible sounding amplifier.
Well, I've seen a couple of them.
We only have.
Years.
One of the questions that relates to that is, it sounds fantastic. How do you rate this amp alongside the greatest and most valuable amps in history? It's the most greatest and most valuable amp in history. To me.
That's it?
I mean, well, if you look around, I mean, we have a lot of amps, and we've had a lot of amps. We've had old Marshalls, we've had all kinds of stuff. This is my favorite amplifier. I just love this thing. It's fantastic. We play it through a couple 12-inch.
And why is that?
I don't know. If I knew, I'd have somebody build me 10 more. I really don't know why that is. It just is.
I think just about everything that I've ever heard played through it sounds really good. It just kind of seems to bring the essence of that guitar out, no matter what kind of
That's
guitar
what
it
people
is.
say, yeah. Yeah. That's the reason that we use it. Sort of like one of the questions that we got also, Pat, was why do we use that amplifier? Because it sounds so great. Why don't we use a cheap amplifier instead? Those are all really good questions, and the answer to that we were thinking is that amplifier does show all of the best characteristics of a guitar that has good characteristics. Sort of like if you're going to audition the best high-performance tires in the world, why would you put them on a Pinto? Why don't you put them on a Lamborghini? And that same question would be, when you play through other amplifiers, why do you use Oscar, one of the best sounding guitars ever? Why don't you use a cheap guitar? Because we want to hear what it can do with the best of the best. And anything other than that will probably not be as good as that. But it shows everything it can do, shows its potential. So that's the reason why we do that. Good questions. The 58 Gold Top's an outstanding guitar. In your view, what is it that makes it so special?
It just sounds real good.
If we knew what made it sound like that, we would have 10 more of those to go along with 10 more of those Vox amplifiers. That's the whole thing that our show is about.
That's right. That's right.
Can you make another guitar sound like that guitar? Probably the singular best sounding Les Paul guitar that we probably ever played. We've had a bunch of these guitars.
That's right.
A whole bunch of them.
Billy Gibbons has spent a fortune, he says in his book, even on trying to replicate the sound of Pearly Gates. And you know, you just can't do it. You can come close. You can get great sounds, but yeah, Pearly is in a world of her own.
As is Oscar, it
As is
seems.
Oscar, yeah, yeah.
So because we do have Oscar and we have the 60 Jane, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, can you really make it sound like this, if that's the sound it is that you're looking for? We like it. Here's a good one. This kind of touches on a thing we talked about with Joe Bonamassa in the Bonamassa interview. Which, by the way, you guys should go to our website, thedougandpatshow.com. All the shows are listed there, and watch them all, because we're going to go back and forth relating some of these comments to shows from the past instead of talking about it over and over again. The question is, you come into possession of a 59 burst. The frets have more pits in them than a coal field, and the volume pot is non-operational. Would you, A, consider yourself lucky, get it overhauled and rock out, or B, keep it all original and either sell it or hang on to it as an investment? That's, of course, a very, very difficult question to answer. Bonamassa had a pretty good answer because he has his Sunburst Les Pauls
Yeah.
refretted if they need it.
Sure.
Don't you think that goes back to that thing that we were talking before about if you have a 1959 Maserati and it has the original tires that are totally worn out, why would you keep the original tires just because they're the original tires
Sure.
if they're disposable?
That's right.
I don't know. I think that's a difficult question. The volume pot, don't you think the volume pot might be a little different?
Might be, you know, and it depends on what's wrong with that volume pot. I had a Les Paul Custom at a 54 that the volume pot was stuck,
Wouldn't move.
wouldn't move, and I kept thinking, you know, I need to put some oil or something in it or whatever you do. And some guy told me,
Thank you very much.
take a hair dryer to the volume pot.
Like what you use on your beard.
That's it. And remove that back cap off your guitar, control cavity cap, and heat that sucker up. And I tell you what, started working it, and that volume pot's been perfect ever since. So,
Mhm.
you know, age will freeze those things up.
And not using it all the time.
That's right.
Yeah, and Bonamassa said the same thing. In one of his bursts, he had a volume pot wasn't working in that guitar, and I don't know what technique he used. It probably is in the interview there, but he got it.
Yeah.
He's really into pots, and I think that's kind of an important thing because having the wiring intact on those guitars is very important. You don't want to change out.
People are real sensitive about solder joints and different things like that, you know. So that's a way, or at least a technique, depending on what's wrong with the pot, of
Yeah,
course. But
yeah.
you know.
I think you can get a lot of them to work.
Yeah.
Next question. Can you do a close-up of Doug's picking technique? No.
How about of your pick?
Yeah, well, I use extra heavy picks, look like Fender picks, but they're extra heavy. And I use it between my two fingers like that. Talk amongst yourselves.
So they
Looks like
are
this.
Conventional
Oh,
shape.
look at this. ECU USA 98 pick.
All right.
That's Eric Clapton. And guess what tour it was? Pilgrim. He used like this. How far down does he roll the bridge tone pot? That's a good question. The answer is I don't touch the tone pot. I don't mess with the tone controls at all. But, as we're talking about potentiometers, also known as variable resistors, Pat,
All right.
as you turn the pot down, something else can happen to the tone, depending on the pot. It can roll off high frequencies,
Definitely.
depending on the guitar. As an example, this is a 92 Rickenbacker Tom Petty model, which are supposed to be really bright. And the volume pot on this guitar, when you turn it from all the way up, back it off just a little bit, that top end literally disappears. When I play this guitar, I usually use the volume pot almost all the way up, and I use a compressor to control the volume level to be able to get that. So I don't touch the tone control. Why do you not touch the tone control? Because it's irrelevant to what we're doing. So if the tone control and the volume pot are all different in all guitars, the cap's different, the pot's different, and I roll the tone control down to 5 or to 6, what does that do? How is that reproducible for you? It's not. So I leave it up. We don't mess with the tone controls. We also don't do both pickups at the same time because the relationship between the two is so variable, you know, in there. Neck pickup on 10, treble pickup on 5. Neck pickup on 10, treble pickup on 6.
Right.
Between the high end roll off of the pots and all that, it can just go on forever. So you guys can do that. We're just going to play the different pickups between 7 and 10. No tone control, and then you can hear what they do.
And speaking of pots, about 250K pots and 500K pots.
Yeah. Boy, did we run into that or what
That's right.
with the Heritage?
Sure.
What happened there? Come on.
Well, the 500K pots just seemed to open the guitar up. It turned into a screamer.
Yeah, the guitar came with 250K pots in it.
Right, right. And I don't know whether, I think the new Gibson guitars, all the reproduction guitars come with 500K pots. But I know a lot of the
Pay
Fenders,
attention to that.
a lot of the Fenders have 250.
250s.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that's, if you don't think your guitar is really quite putting it out like it ought to,
Double check those pots.
check those pots.
Check those pots.
And pots still, now it's legal in the state of Washington.
Right, so you can check it daily.
Take it across.
Yeah, careful. Careful, Kevin. We're not
Gonna go there.
We're just saying check your pots.
That's right.
Next question from the fretboard. What are your respective opinions on Norlin era Gibsons? Very interesting. See, Pat and I have been collecting and selling guitars for a long, long time, obviously.
And playing them periodically.
And playing them. We play them. And so we've been around when a lot of these guitars were new, such as the first 68 Gold Top that I had, the first reissue. I bought it when it was new. And then I got into the retail music business along with being a player, and Pat was collecting and wheeling and dealing guitar too, a little reveal about us. We saw them come as the changes happened. Norlin took over Gibson, the changes at Fender. We saw them on a retail level and also on a collectability level.
That's right.
So our opinion about the Norlin era guitars is based on that. We thought, or I thought, Pat can have his own opinion because he just seems to do whatever he wants to do, is that the quality of those instruments took a nosedive. We went from a one solid piece body to a sandwich piece, sometimes 2, sometimes 4 pieces of wood. The necks became laminated and clunky, the headstocks got large, put a volute on the back, so it changed the balance of the instrument. It changed the wood from mahogany one piece, nice feeling neck, to maple with an overly large headstock and larger tuners. And at that time, we both had, and still do, highly collectible Les Pauls with humbucking pickups on them that were the standards. I mean, not only were they standards, but we had customs, we had specials and juniors and all that. And they didn't compare. They didn't compare, looked like construction-wise, they didn't compare tone-wise, they didn't compare feel-wise. And I think that the marketplace, as the years have gone by, has agreed with us. For example, what would a 1968 Gold Top, that's the P90 56 reissue, the first reissue in 68, a decent condition one of those guitars go for nowadays?
A lot.
25
Yep.
grand maybe?
Yep.
Depends on the
And the condition
Yeah.
and all that, but
Okay, what would a 72 or 73 Norlin era Les Paul Deluxe go for? That is essentially the same model, but 3 or 5 years later, go for? 3 grand maybe?
yeah, most.
If
yeah.
it was really nice,
Yeah,
the
most.
market speaks.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between the two? Research that a little bit, and I think you'll find that out. What do you think about Norlin era Gibsons?
Don't really care for them, you know. And like you saw, all the changes throughout the years, they just felt clunky. They felt dead sounding. That's why we were putting in all these DiMarzio pickups and the Mighty Mite pickups throughout the years and
Yeah.
these things to try and make them sound good. And they,
Yeah.
you know,
That's how that got started, isn't it?
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, yeah, just nowadays I think they're doing a whole lot better job. Gibson is, and a lot of the companies, you know, getting back to the original design of these guitars and materials. But boy, the Norland area ones are just not my thing.
Yeah, and I think the market has spoken, like I said earlier, has spoken on that too, as far as the collectability goes.
Yeah.
So there you go. Here's a good one. My mom said to ask Pat about my child maintenance payments.
You know,
You need to take a moment.
no, because I have been sending the checks, and I don't know who's been cashing them,
Yeah,
but it's
isn't me.
you know, it's all I can
This
say
is from Bog Whippet.
oh
And in the blog, I don't know.
yeah, well,
Yeah, I think you might need to ask your mom about that.
tell your mom we'll talk.
What modeling technology do you prefer? Look behind you, people. We're not into modeling technology. We're into the real deal technology. Why are we into the real deal technology? Because we've heard all these amplifiers from the back in the days where you could only buy, if you were going to buy an amplifier in the old days, you could only buy a hand-wired tube amp. The sound that those amplifiers made and make were the standard. You couldn't get anything else. As you moved into the solid-state amplifiers, in my opinion and Pat's opinion, they got worse if you liked that sound. Modeling amplifiers, it's a snapshot of tone. So we're not the guys to ask about that. If that's your thing, then that's your thing, but that is not our thing.
I kind of like some of the Victoria's Secret models.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have Facebook friends that are Victoria's Secret models? Because you know,
No,
I don't. Because
And-
they're
and
not.
I would like
They're
to-
not really Victoria's Secret models.
that's right. That's right.
Okay. And on a variation of that exact same question, do they feel the difference in vintage versus modern is down to playing or just age? Like our age? Probably not.
No.
Or, if not, one short sentence of what the difference is in their opinion. Okay, so the question would be, as I'm getting, the difference between a vintage guitar and a new guitar. Do we think that they're comparable? I think we're not even going out on a limb by saying we're just looking for sound and feel and quality. We don't care when it was made or when or where it was made or anything about it. I have to say though, I like the patina that an older instrument gets.
There you go.
I like the way it looks. I like the way the lacquer yellows. I just sort of like that stuff. And the new stuff, of course, they can do that. They can make it look like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this question really is kind of another thing that the show is all about, which is we're taking newer instruments and we're putting in different pickups in them and comparing them to the older instruments that are the ones that they're being compared to and made to sound like, whether they're specials or juniors or standards or customs, whatever they are, and to try to answer that question. So we've run into some really great new guitars. We even play some really great new guitars. Pat's got a great special that he plays in our band, Geezer. I have a 335 Custom Shop's a beautiful instrument.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some great stuff. So we'll continue to explore this and help you guys answer those same questions, comparing them to the original stuff. What brand of tobacco does Pat smoke? I haven't really seen any smoking going on, but well, no. In your car, I think you do.
I smoke. There's a place here in the Portland area called Timberland, and I get their tobacco, and it's a mixture of cherry and vanilla that they do for me.
Mm.
And it's I not only like the aroma, but the taste. The taste is good. And I of course smoke it through my Peterson pipe.
Oh, where's that made?
This Peterson pipe is made in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh.
It's an Irish pipe, you know.
Irish.
So
I'm not
It's,
even going to begin to try and do an Irish accent, because then the guys in Ireland are going to say,
you want me to? No, I won't.
No,
either.
yeah, I do. His name's O'Donnell.
I
so-
won't. I won't do this anyway.
Go ahead.
So this is a briar pipe, and the stem has what they call their P system. So when you draw the smoke through the stem, it comes out the top part of the stem
Oh.
rather than the back part. So it doesn't
Oh.
go directly into your throat or any of that. It goes to the roof of your mouth. Therefore, it cools it off a skosh. So it's comfortable pipe. I like the style. My next pipe is hopefully going to be a church warden pipe, kind of like what you see the guy in what's that show with the old guys?
Doug and Pat show?
Yeah, well, one of those. Gandalf, Gandalf uses a church warden.
Oh, yeah, the Hobbit ones.
The Hobbit.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. What's the name of that show?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
So,
What do you think about top wrapping? We actually covered this in a thing that we recorded about a month ago when we started doing this. So I'm just gonna play this. But one of the things they do mention in the video is that there is a catalog that Gibson put out in the '56, right around there.
oh yeah.
And it shows, here's a picture of it, it shows an artist rendition of the Les Paul Custom with the string going top wrapped, meaning going backwards over the tailpiece, as we'll explain in the next little clip here. But here's a picture of Les Paul at the Gibson factory in the 50s with Gibson Les Paul coming off the production line. And we can see that the strings are not back wrapped on this, so it might have just been the artist's
Yeah.
thing. But there are also some other reasons as to why we back wrap the strings, as does Bonamassa, and here's the clip on that. That's a question that we've been asked a little bit, and we also talked about that back wrapping thing with Bonamassa, who back wraps his. What back wrapping is where you go in from, here's a stop tailpiece. You come in, instead of coming in this way with the string, you come in that way, and then it wraps back around like that. I started doing that with a 59 Sunburst, and it broke strings all the time. Now we know that the pitch of the neck and the body, the angle of it, how tilted it is, determines how high the bridge is. And so when you clamp the tailpiece down, you can really get a severe angle going over the bridge, and something else can happen. And it's happened to this guitar. This guitar is probably an early 70s Norland 335, belongs to our buddy Mike Osborne, who's a great blues guitar player in town. He was the touring guitar player with John Lee Hooker for years, so he's a serious blues cat. And he plays 335s, and this is one that he has. Here's the reason we're going to show it. If you can see this, and we'll flash a picture up there, this bridge, which is a Nashville Tune-o-matic, is collapsing. It's actually U-shaped this way. Now, I've seen a number of pictures of ABRs that do the same thing. If you have a severe angle on the string and it's banging into the back, what we do is we clamp this thing down and we come over the top and gets rid of that angle. And that's one of the reasons why we do it. I also found that it didn't break strings that much.
How about the tone of the guitar? Did you notice any significant change in the tone?
I did not. And we've strung a number of them. We have a lot of Les Pauls and 335s and a lot of guitars we played. Some of we've had for a really, really long time. and we haven't noticed any difference. Now I know that there are guys out there on YouTube who are saying that this is definitively this and this is that. You can't do this and that. We're not saying that. We're just saying we do it like this, and this is one of the possible reasons why. If you have an older guitar with original ABR and it all of a sudden starts, instead of being flat, it starts going that way, that's a drag. So that's one of the reasons why we do back wrapping.
Well, and the other thing you mentioned, bolting this, screwing it all the way down into the body, resting on the body and stuff, and it gives you that angle.
Otherwise you have to back it up.
That's right. That's right.
Float it up a little bit like that. Is it better? I don't know if it's better or not. 'Cause you can just experiment around with it and check it out too. So
I think it's more comfortable to play with it that way. It's
I do
easier
too.
for me to mute the strings a little bit with my right
you know
hand.
that catalog that has the 54 Bar Magnet Custom, the first one that appears like that? It's not really a picture of it. It looks like a drawing of it. I'll flash a picture of it on the screen here. You'll notice that that guitar has back wrapped strings over there. Not that that's the reason we do it, but it's just a curious thing. So that's why we do it. On to the next one.
All right. Oh, I back wrap mine just because Doug does his.
He does not. He doesn't know anything. I think, something like that. And last from the fretboard guys, are Doug and Pat going to join the fretboard, as we said earlier? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We love these conversations we have with people around the world. It's really, really big fun. Here's some other questions that come through our website,
Okay.
thedougandpatshow.com, where they can buy t-shirts and check out all the shows and take a look at pictures of the guitars. Pickup height, how do you adjust them? This is a great question. A place we start with humbuck is, well, here's a printout that's on your screen now. This is from Gibson that came with the original humbucking pickups. This is a pretty good place to start. And what we're doing is, we are taking that measurement and we are putting it into the guitars. But it's going to kind of depend on a couple things. It's going to depend on the guitar, it's going to depend on the pickup, and it's going to depend on your amp.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Heritage that has a bare knuckle in the treble position. I don't know if we can see right there. It's pretty close relative to pressing your fingers down up here so that you're not going to bonk into it.
Right.
The strings vibrate more in this position than they do down here if you just physically look at them. And since when they vibrate the magnetic field.
Mm-hmm.
This pickup, the neck pickup, this is totally a matter of taste. But we back it down a little bit, depending on if it's overdriving the amp or whatever it's doing. I think that's how we have them,
Yep.
pretty much most of them adjusted. Back wrapped. The bar magnet custom, remember we did the bar magnet?
Yep.
On the adjustment on that pickup is really critical.
Yeah, that pickup is something else anyway.
It is. Those magnets in that sucker got to be like
Go down
tons long.
3/4 of an inch into the body, yeah.
And I think you can, if you're a person that is interested in those Alnico bar magnet Les Paul customs, you got to keep those magnets away from the strings a little bit. Not only do they do string pull, meaning that the magnets are actually pulling on the string, which makes them vibrate less, but it also brings out false harmonics.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we do. We adjust them up pretty high in the bridge, see what they sound like depending on your amplifier. If you're running through a Marshall or you're running through a Fender Princeton, those are two different type of amplifiers. So you might experiment a little bit. They are adjustable, so you can do it. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm. Did this guitar come with the little pointer things for the knobs?
No,
Okay.
I don't like those little pointer things anyway.
And a lot of people don't. A lot of people get hurt.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, even though I run my fingers like that, but sometimes, you know, when you're in a hurry, you can bonk them. I know I took the pointers off of my 58 Modern
mm-hmm.
because they just got in the way. How about your 58 Modern? Did you do the same
I
thing?
did the same thing.
Yeah,
I did the same thing.
you don't have to do that. You can leave the little pointer things on your guitars. That way you can know what number you're supposed to be on.
Yeah. That's what I do. With my Modern.
Here's a good one. We've been asked this a number of times after the blindfold test show, where we had 5 guitars, one of them being a Tokai Love Rock,
Mm-hmm.
which at the time, it's just a guitar that's around, and so we didn't know what particularly it was. But what model and what year and what pickups are in it? I think you took that guitar apart, didn't you?
Took it apart. The pickups say nothing. They're just a stock pickup, and they don't say Seymour or DiMarzio or any of that on them. They're just
Maxon,
blank.
or
No,
any of that stuff.
nothing. And the year of it appears to be an '85.
How do you know that?
Just from the serial number and from the comments that people have.
Oh. Helpful viewers who have written in.
Yeah.
Help us out.
That's about all I can tell you about the thing. It sounds real good, plays good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, I think so. I mean, since here again, you guys can go to the website and check out the original blindfold test thing, but just as many people thought that the Tokai was Jane the 60 burst as did people thought that the 60 burst, they were going, this is a 60 burst, but it was really the Tokai,
right.
right? That's the reason why we do blindfold tests. That's the reason why I'm not playing the guitars on camera anymore, because I want people to listen in.
Mm-hmm.
Which takes us to another question about potted versus unpotted pickups. We cover that in pickup shootout number 3, and we'll continue to do that because it's a big deal.
It is. It is. It's one of those deals that people don't realize how much effect that these pots have on the tone of their guitars, and you know, it's right there in the. We can show you on the Doug and Pat show.
We can show you.
That's right.
What is the reason why people pot the pickups? They mainly do it because they used to do it with cheaper pickups where the winding didn't have, the tension wasn't uniform. It's that they would feed back.
Right.
Hence the term microphonic. Like some of them, I had a 70s Telly. You could put that guitar on the bridge pickup, that little chrome thing, and talk in it. And I used to do that. I used to yell at people. It was kind of annoying. But none of the old guitars that we have potted pickups. So we're now comparing them to PAF style guitars that are with pickups in them that are unpotted. Yeah, they bring out the overtones that, especially when you plug it into a good amplifier, you can hear that. And that stuff is what we're looking for. One of the questions was about using an overdrive pedal to get classic sounds. We think that if you use overdrive pedals, you lose something. You gain something, but you lose something. That's all particular for the individual player to make that decision. We're not going to use any pedals because there are a billion pedals. You guys can do that. We're just going to plug them straight in. What's the weight of Oscar, the 58 Gold Top?
Oscar is 8.5 pounds. So it's
Pounds.
Yep.
Recording technique, mic placement. We covered that in detail on the Pickup Shoot Up 3. Go to the website and you can see that show. We use pictures in there. Modern Gibson amps versus old Gibson amps. I haven't played any new Gibson amps.
No, I have no idea what they even sound like or.
Good
or
question,
look
though.
like.
I guess if we run into some, we don't even know anybody who has them. But if we do, then we'll get some and compare them. We're going to try and get Victoria to cut loose with some of that vintage sort of stuff that they do. What's that one that's supposed to be like a GA40?
I'm not sure what the model number is.
Yeah,
The model
Bonham
name
also
of
was
that
playing
is,
one that looked kind of like that. It looks like a two-tone GA40.
Right.
We're going to try and get some of those and compare those guys. 18-watt Marshall comparison. Why do they sound different? And not necessarily better, but why do they sound different?
Well, old and new, and I think a lot of it has to do with the pickups. They pretty much stayed true to the electronics part of it all, but when you get the speakers, new speaker, old speaker, worn in, one that's brand new, there's definitely a difference in sound.
That seems to be a comment that comes in a lot, which we will check out because that's pretty valid.
Yeah.
So when we do the next 18-watt Marshall shootout, we're going to take it apart as much as we can and switch stuff, switch the tubes. We have some pre-Rolla Celestion 12s that we'll be changing back and forth and find out what makes it sound different. So stay tuned for that.
Right.
String gauges that you use on the guitars. On our Gibson guitars, we use the D'Addario 9.5s, called XL Plus, I think.
Yeah. And why is that as opposed to a 10 or a 9?
I don't know. Because we get a deal on them? No, that's not the thing. We just like that sort of in between.
Yeah, I prefer it because it makes the G string a little bit lighter, a little bit easier to move around, and
Compared to 10s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just-
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Play live more or with music, especially Pat. Did a lot of requests to hear you play.
I played the accordion.
Yeah, I know.
In the last one.
He gives,
And,
people. He gives.
Yes. So I've been thinking about an oboe.
That'd be nice.
So,
Do you like the old oboes better than the new ones?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. Vintage.
Okay, and the last question, which is really about us as players, because they saw that we have a band called Geezer, is how do you guys keep your energy level up going to the gig? Do you eat a lot of food? How do you do it? What sort of thing do you do? And well, I know that Pat has a regimen for that that maybe he would like to share with us.
Yeah, what I do is you've got to eat something, you know, and so you start out and it's, you take your equipment over there, you unload everything, get everything set up, and it's almost time to play. You don't really have time to eat a big meal. You don't want to eat a big meal before you start playing anyway.
You don't?
So you grab something quick. So what I do is when I leave the house, I grab a hard-boiled egg and take it.
Brilliant.
It fits right in your guitar case. You know, you can put some salt and pepper in there and all that stuff, and you don't have to worry about them. Get to the gig, get everything set up. You need to grab something fast, so you grab that egg. What you got to make sure, though, is that you don't grab one that's not hard-boiled out of your fridge. So there's a little technique that I learned from my wife to tell whether the egg is hard-boiled or not. And we'll grab this old slab guitar here, and
Is that a telly?
this is one of them their Telecasters, and it doesn't have them their PAF pickups.
No, no.
So you can tell whether the egg is hard-boiled or not by spinning it. Now see how this one spins easily?
I do.
This egg is hard-boiled,
Look at that. There's no doubt.
no doubt. This egg is not
Oh,
hard-boiled,
look at that.
and it does not spin very
You'd
well
have to be
at
a
all.
fool, Pat,
Well,
to grab that egg by mistake.
yeah, so make sure that on your way out the door that you grab that hard-boiled egg, and you know, do a little simple spin test before you leave the house, and you know, you'll be good to go. So when you need that extra little burst of energy
What do you do?
before you leave the house, grab that egg, get to your gig, just crack that sucker open, and you got a hard-boiled.
God! Well, I'm Doug.
I'm Pat.
Thanks for watching, guys.